Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod, of course, as we got our final full regular season week of action, 8 games on tap, and FCS playoff implications all around the universe, man. So it's gonna be a fun one here. Make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand spanking new to the channel. And we will not waste any time, we will jump right into it. We start this episode off with a barn burner between number 7 ranked Sam Houston State Cardiac Cats taking on number 15 Southeastern, and these two teams are fighting for a spot in the conference championship. Winner gets to go and play against Georgia Southern, and both teams are playing their final regular season games as well. So we got ourselves a really exciting one as David Bulk is going to take an early sack, and Sam Houston State is going to have to punt this football away. Not a fast start by either team, but maybe we'll start to see some fireworks come through as we got a kick return on the horizon. Downfield is Mateo West. He runs away from the rest of the Sam Houston State football team, and that is how the first touchdown of this episode is going to be scored. Southeastern going to take a 7-3 lead. But that being said, does that lead last a while? We'll have to see, as now it's Maniaci downfield going to take it down the sideline, and we get an answer. Call it a Drake song because we're going back to back with special teams touchdowns, and it certainly did not last very long whatsoever. The Cardiac Cats, they retake the lead and looking to extend that lead before we get into the end of the first half. Williams going to take the carry up the middle, and no one is going to even bother to try and touch him, and that's going to be a touchdown for Sam Houston State. Good start here for the Cardiac Cats, and with 22 seconds left, Southeastern now, who's at home by the way, trying to respond right back, and they're actually going to get one. Mateo West is also going to score. That's going to be his second touchdown of the day. He got a special teams one in the punt return game. We do also see one in the offensive phase of the game, and now Southeastern pulling back to within a field goal, but they could take the lead on this interception. Oh, almost finding your way into the end zone. Lewis Daniels with his first INT of this game, and it's a critical one as Southeastern is firing on all cylinders coming out of the halftime locker room, trying to get it out to Craig Gregg, one of your guys' customs. And now Drew Brands with a chance to take the lead, fires into the end zone, and Claude Cameron going to make the catch for the touchdown, but he might have paid a price. He does get injured on the play. Hopefully his injury is not too serious. Michael Garrett would take his place if he is gone for a while, but Southeastern nonetheless, they will take the lead and looking to extend that lead as we get it fired up. Drew Brown up in double coverage. Cameron's back, baby. And Cameron's going to make a big play downfield. First down for the Lions of Southeast Louisiana. And eventually the Lions will drive into the red zone. But can they convert on third down? They have struggled on third downs. Just 1 for 5. Brown firing, but it's going to be intercepted. Trying to get it out. Looks like it was to Michael Garrett, but it's not going to be caught. It will be picked off. So it remains 21-17 as of right now. But Sam Houston State, they could not do anything after the turnover, but they might have better luck this time around as Drew Brown is going to be intercepted once again. That will make it 1st and 10 from the 34-yard line. Great chance for the Cardiac Cats to take the lead. We'll see if they take it as we have the final play of the third quarter, and oh my, absolutely tattooed on that hit, trying to hand it off to Michael Williams. Not related to Blake Williams of Georgia Southern, you know, very common last name, but Rice absolutely lights him up. And we go into the fourth quarter. Southeastern still has the lead. Last quarter to determine who goes to the SEC championship. And now about a big time to make a big play. Michael Garrett, the sophomore custom, comes down with the catch. And it does lead to a field goal. So still 24-17. That does end up being your score. As now Bullock going to throw over to right hand side. He will also come down and make the catch. Not a lot of big explosive plays for Sam Houston State here today, but maybe they're going to come through when it matters the most. As Bullock, you see his career stats. He's had a solid collegiate career so far. 36 touchdowns, first 13 interceptions. Now it'll be a big time for touchdown pass number 37. Looks to the left-hand side. It's caught on the perimeter down the sideline and brought out of bounds. Going into the red zone, that's Poole, and that was thrown with just enough touch. That is not as easy as a pass as it looks. And Bullock just making it look easy as he will complete the drive. David Bullock throwing it on the dot to Sims, who did a double out and go. And we're all knotted up at 24 apiece. Brown hands it off to the tailback, going to get it out to the outside. He's able to break one tackle, breaks another one, does. Good chop down, eventually out of bounds as David Randall. Not a lot of carries for him today. This is a team that certainly likes to throw the football in the air. Is still going to be all knotted up. But Southeastern, they're threatening. Brown going to throw one up into the end zone, and it's caught! It is going to be caught for a touchdown. Drew Brown just gave Southeast Louisiana the lead with less than 2 minutes left to play. All of the time in the world off of that play action. And the Lions are going to pull away. One last gasp, but David Bullock is going to be picked off. And that fat lady, yes, that fat lady might officially be singing, as it is not the Bearcats of Sam Houston State, but instead it's Southeast Louisiana who is going to punch their ticket into the not the FCS playoffs, but the SEC championship. They should very well punch their ticket into the playoffs, so either they'll get in as an at-large, or they can pull an upset against Georgia Southern, get that automatic bid, maybe get a first-round bye. That's all in play. Meanwhile, Sam Houston State, they will likely miss out on getting a first-round bye into the FCS playoffs. But that is not the only game that we have in this episode that has serious FCS playoff implications. We now go into Northeastern Ohio for the battle of the wagon wheel, as two teams ranked in the top 20 go up against each other on the football field. Now, neither team will be going to the conference championship this year. Ohio did run the table. They are already going to go. But the winner of this game can effectively make sure that they get that at-large bid into the FCS playoffs without having to worry about getting any sort of help from other teams around the FCS universe. So, big game obviously for both teams, and it's a rivalry game. Nothing else that needs to be said. We jump right into it. 3 minutes left into the first quarter, and Akron will strike first on the road. Just a quick little touchdown run, gets it out to Williams, and Akron gets out to a strong lead. And Johnson, who is still playing in for the injured Steve Spurlock, hopefully he does come back for the playoffs if they are chosen to go to the playoffs, of course. But Johnson is sticking around, and he's making good decisions with the football. Throws that one into the back of the end zone, and Akron quickly extends their lead out to 2 possessions. How about we make it 3 possessions, as that's going to be a touchdown for the Akron Zips. 24-3 going to be your score at the half, as Johnson looks extremely sharp at the start of his game. And second half, the scary thing about the second half, is that Akron has this pretty sizable lead, and they also are starting with the football to begin the second half. So we saw them score last in the final seconds of the second quarter, and now we're going to see them score again to start the third quarter. You want to talk about some double dipping? They're certainly going to double dip right there. 31-3 now your score, as Kent State being absolutely dominated. Just a shell of the team that they were just a couple of years ago, and after a fumble in the end zone, which Akron does recover, it's pretty clear who's going to win this game. The Akron Zips winning convincingly. 38-13 does end up being your final score. And congratulations to the Akron Zips. They end up winning the battle of the wagon wheel. So now all of a sudden, the two-time champs Kent State, they are in danger of missing their first FCS playoffs. They'll need some help all of a sudden. So we'll see if they can get a little bit of help, as we do have a top 25 matchup over in the Big 12 Conference. We jump over to the Southern Jaguars, who come in ranked number 3 in the entire country, taking on a team under NCAA sanctions, Texas Southern. So Texas Southern, no matter what happens in this game, they will not be going to the FCS playoffs. They will be eligible next year. So some teams in the FCS, they do not play a 12th game. Most FCS teams play 11. This will be Texas Southern's 12th game, which honestly, I really don't mind that for them. They're not going to the playoffs anyways. This is a great time to get some extra reps. You know, get yourself prepared for next season, because this Texas Southern squad, they are good enough to go to the playoffs. They would have been a playoff team, you know, in the last year or so, but we just haven't seen that happen. And you know, Southern, meanwhile, you know, Southern's trying to maintain that first round bye. They are already going to the conference championship game. We don't know who they will be playing up against, but Southern will be playing for an automatic bid. It would be their first playoff appearance since season number 1, but they are trying really hard to diminish their chances, because Justin Jones, I'm not sure who he was throwing that football to. I'm going to be honest with you. Really am not sure what was going on there. And Texas Southern are going to get the interception. So Adam Mayhew comes back out onto the field and throws an absolute dime towards the back of the pylon. Zoo Animal, he was in really good coverage. He had his head turned. That's a real good play on the football. Just an even perfect throw. Nothing that you could do about that. So now Texas Southern with a chance to get a touchdown to take the lead, and they will pile their way into the end zone. Touchdown, Texas Southern. And the Tigers, they will, of course, take that 7-3 lead going in to the second quarter. Can Justin Jones step up his level of play? He hands it off to Pace. Pacing his way to the outside, is able to break a tackle. Will eventually be brought down across the 30-yard line, as Pace is off to a good start. Already 70 yards rushing on the ground. I think they're starting to find a really good offensive rhythm, because they had a couple of really interesting weeks. But Justin Jones off play action, have him run a little bit. I think they're starting to find more success versus having him be a traditional drop back quarterback. But he's more than capable of dropping some dimes too. Justin Jones gets that touchdown there. And Southern with a 10-7 lead. Looking over to the other side, gets it out to Pace. Out on the perimeter, is able to throw a nice ball that will go in bounds. And that's a first down for Southern. A big first down. They're on pace to make this a 2-score game. Later on in the drive, Justin looks over the middle, finds Pace once again, breaks a tackle, almost pushes his way into the end zone, but will be brought down inside the 5-yard line. Justin Jones starting to find his groove in a critical moment of the game. Nice rhythm throw, recognizing the run back on a linebacker. You already know that's barbecue chicken. And Justin Jones will help finish the drive as he hands it off to Pace. The Southern offensive line is able to win up front. That's going to be yet another touchdown for the Southern Jaguars, now making it a 17-7 game. Going in, so Southern's looking really good right now. As long as they don't blow it, they should be good to go. And Southern will go ahead and kick this football away now. Gets it out to the perimeter, trying to take it out of the end zone, but he forgets about the football. Even if that was not fumbled, That was not a very good return at all. And now Southern's going to have the football here with less than a couple of seconds. Or not less than a couple of seconds, but, less than 20 yards to get another touchdown. They don't get it, but they get a field goal. And then next possession, Adam Mayhew going to throw a very critical interception here. Zoo Animal just going to tee off on it. And that's going to be an easy touchdown for the Southern Jaguars as they will march on and complete a very good regular season. Southern will finish their regular season at 9-2. Certainly put themselves in the forefront of a first round bye. They have a pretty good resume to go with it. Big 12 is a much improved conference, of course, and it doesn't mind that, you beat another top 25 team, as is Texas Southern. Still a solid year for the Tigers, and I'll be looking for them in year number 5 to compete for an FCS spot. But even in the early games, we still had some interesting action, and one game that I definitely wanted to highlight was the Central Michigan and Eastern Michigan game. We had a rivalry game in Ypsilanti, but the Eagles could not win this football game. They lose to Central Michigan 31-21, and that should get the Chippewas into the playoffs, whereas Eastern Michigan is going to be sweating it out on Selection Sunday. So all that game action that you just witnessed, that was in the lead up to Saturday, and now here we are actually on Saturday here in our FCS Dynasty universe, and we're going to check in on Sacramento State, who it seemed like just a few weeks ago they were a lock to go to the FCS playoffs for the very first time, but they had some injuries at the quarterback position, and now they're just hanging on by a thread. Number 18, they're just sitting in that bubble right now. It's a win that they desperately need to get on Weber State. Meanwhile, Weber State, they are not eligible for the FCS playoffs either. They are under NCAA sanctions, and it's going to be really big for them to come out here and get this critical win so that they can go play spoiler, finish above 500, create some momentum for year 5 when they are no longer under sanctions. And how about this to get us started? Aveline Thomas, the sophomore, throws a dime into the end zone. Touchdown, Weber State. Just one-on-one coverage, trusting your man to win that coverage, and gonna win big time there. A 7-0 lead, which now puts some pressure back on Corey Hall. He's going to look for a big play of his own, looking for his big-time wide receiver, who comes down and makes a play. Jacob Hill with the sophomore big-time play as Corey Hall instantly tied this game up. We're all knotted up at 7 apiece. But now we jump into the second quarter. Still the same score. Aveline Thomas trying to lead his guys up for the lead. Thomas throws down the left-hand side. Throws it in a tight area. Oh my goodness. You cannot throw this ball any better. And that's exactly what we saw. Here comes the Weber State Wildcats. Looking to take the lead. Gonna go with the reverse handoff. Actually could have been a much bigger play, but more importantly, the ball is fumbled, and we actually might mess around. Are we going to see a big boy touchdown? Yes, we will, unless there is any kind of flags on the play, but that's not going to happen. Sacramento State going to get a critical play, and the Hornets take the lead. We'll see if Weber State can recover. 1 minute left in the first half, but the Wildcats putting together yet another good drive as Aveline Thomas continues to throw the ball with such precision. Now back in the red zone. 75% of the year. That's pretty darn good. 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Dropping back. Thomas throws towards the end zone. He's got a guy, and it's going to be caught. Touchdown, Weber State, and the Wildcats now all knotted up at 14 all. And it's going to be a battle. Both teams wanting to win this game for different reasons. But we might start seeing Weber State unravel here just a little bit. A big interception from the Sacramento State secondary. That is going to be huge for what could be happening for them later on. So now can Weber State defense step up and get a big play from their guys? And they actually do. Sacramento State does not score in their next possession, still all knotted up at 14 apiece. As Abilene Thomas continues his reign of terror, he just hits 2,500 yards of passing on the year. It's been a pretty good year for Abilene Thomas. Can the rest of his team step up for him, though, as they go play action? Looking towards the right-hand side, throws it up, and it's caught again. Touchdown, Wildcats. They'll take the lead in the fourth quarter. Sacramento State, they might be on the verge of being eliminated from FCS playoff contention. 2nd and 10. Corey looking for a play. He's facing pressure on the backside, and it's going to be fumbled. Oh, you hate to see it. Was that Jacob Hill that had the fumble? We'll see if we get a replay or not. Okay, so we will get the replay, and sure enough, it was. Jacob Hill has been such a star for this team, and at a big moment, they give up a sack, but still down 21-14, right? Abilene Thomas could not go and move the ball downfield. 3rd and 19 now, as Thomas tries to throw downfield, looking for the first down marker, but a critical mistake. Brad Davis, he could have very well saved the Hornets season. Sacramento State staying alive, but now they really are going to need a touchdown from their quarterback. Can this offense score? 2nd and 4. Davis drops, looks, facing pressure. He's going to be dropped in Weber State. The 12th man is starting to come alive. And how about those edge rushers really showing some huge motor? And now 3rd and long. Corey gotta throw this one. He uncorks it. Fires. Caught by Espinoza. First down, Sacramento. And the Hornets in striking distance now with 3:11 left to play. Corey needed a play, and he just got one in the big way. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Gotta tie the game. Corey looks, fires over the middle of the field, and it's caught! Jacob Hill ties the football game. Touchdown, Sacramento State. And it's all knotted up at 21 all. It's going to go down to a photo finish. As Weber State, they try to take the lead, but they cannot score. And now, here comes Sacramento State. Brad Davis with a big-time interception earlier. He will also get the touchdown as well. 28-21. So now the script is flipped. Now can Abilene Thomas lead his team down, make this a tie game? Thomas does get his. He's thrown, and Brad Davis gets yet another interception. This time it gets taken back all the way to the crib. And that should do it. But Abilene Thomas does get hurt. It looks like it might be a pretty serious injury. Not able to put pressure on that foot. But Sacramento State, they are going to survive. They will win by a final score of 35-21. And that should solidify it. Sacramento State, we don't know what seed they will be or who they would play up against. Likely not going to be a first round bye squad. But this win right here should give Sacramento State their very first FCS playoff appearance. So congratulations to the Hornets. Meanwhile, Weber State, they'll finish the year below 500. And speaking of teams that could finish below 500, Bethune-Cookman, they're going to have senior day here, but a senior day against an extraordinarily tough opponent, Southeast Missouri State, who comes into today's matchup. They are going to be ranked number 8 in the country. So a team that's also playing for a first round bye, but Bethune-Cookman's an interesting team. Yes, they're 5-5, but they're in the race to go to the conference championship. I believe there's a tie between them, Florida A&M, South Carolina State, Delaware is also in that mix as well. So Bethune-Cookman, they could find a way to go to their first conference championship game in this series, but first they got to find a way to slow down Southeast Missouri State, because here's the thing about those Red Hawks. The Red Hawks, they are going to come out here. They're trying to send a message. They're trying to solidify their their playoff resume, because this is Southeast Missouri State's final game. Bethune-Cookman may or may not have one more, as, hang on now, we got ourselves a game here late in the first quarter. The Wildcats are driving down the football field. If they can find a way to score on this drive, we might have ourselves a football game versus what I thought could possibly happen, and that is Southeast Missouri State running these guys off the field. But apparently Bethune-Cookman, they did not get the memo, as Forte is going to tie it up. We got a football game, guys. Southeast Missouri State, they're going to have to show some actual fight here. Johnson looks to the right-hand side, does fire it out, and does pick up a very good first down. So a nice play by the sophomore quarterback, as Johnson again will drop back. He's got a little bit of time to work with once more, and throws it into the end zone. Touchdown, Southeast Missouri State, and the Red Hawks will retake the lead after a pretty surprising fight from Bethune-Cookman. But we still got ourselves a battle here yet. Forte out in the shotgun. He's going to try to throw with his football. They're not very known for being a passing team. They more like to, keep it on the ground. Very interesting game for sure. As now Bethune-Cookman, they got to punt this football away. Gets into the hands of Lonnie Scott. Scott's got some serious speed. The athleticism showing as he's going to be able to run away. And it's going to be a touchdown for the Red Hawks in a 21-10 game. Can Bethune-Cookman keep up for 4 quarters? Forte trying to find any running room off of a cute little handoff. They're trying to get a little cute with that, but it is going to be fumbled. And the Red Hawks, they will also recover once again. Red Hawks with an opportunity to get points in the red zone. One of the best red zone teams in the country at 91%. Tronson, though, throws to the right-hand side, and it's a rare miscue in the red zone. Frank Warren is going to pick this ball off. How about this? Johnson with a chance to ice this game, and just a bad throw, a bad decision. Bethune-Cookman going to remain alive. 3rd and long, though, for the Wildcats. They got to score off this drive. 3rd and 10 from the 7-yard line. They're deep in their own territory. They need a first down. Looking downfield. They want it all, and they're going to not get it all. It's going to be picked off by the sophomore, Ken Trill. And Ken Trill was the custom player, one of your guys' custom players as well, is going to try to shut the door on this Bethune-Cookman team, BCC. But yet, offense, they still cannot score. And eventually, Wildcats are able to find a passing attack. Able to get a nice throw down the left-hand side, one-on-one matchup. And of course, you got to take that 10 times out of 10. But now the Wildcats have a chance to make this a 1-score game. They've been 2 for 2 in red zone chances. And Forte, he's going to try to ruin it, and he does. Forte puts the football on the ground. So that means this game, it should be over. It should not be competitive. Also, shout out to, I believe that was Bam Bam Hendricks that made that play. But Southeast Missouri State, they can't close it out. They're still struggling to, move the ball against this team, surprisingly. So that might be some concern going into the FCS playoffs, because if you're struggling to score against Bethune-Cookman, oh boy, what about what happens when you play against other defenses? Definitely has some major concerns moving forward. But that being said, Wildcats are out the door. This game is not over all of a sudden. After this strike, they're down to the 1-yard line. Now, don't know what their timeout situation is like, but what I do know is that if they score here, it's a 1-score game. And sure enough, they will, because no one, and I really do mean nobody goes after this quarterback, and it's going to be a walk-in touchdown. So, shout out to the Wildcats. Bethune-Cookman did make this interesting, but Southeast Missouri State, they will end up surviving in this circumstance, and they're going to win the football game. But definitely some things that they'll need to work on. Good news for them, they do get a bye week for the FCS playoffs as soon as they remain in the top 8. which they should with a 9-2 record. As for Wildcats, 5-6, their season may very well be done. But with the noon games coming to an end, we'll take a time here to take yet another studio update to check on some other FCS scores in our Dynasty universe. We start with Temple, who is now at number 24 in the country. They finished the year strong by blowing out Western Illinois 55-21, as Temple is now 8-3 and competitive for an FCS playoff spot. As for North Dakota State, they continue their push to not only win a conference championship, but also getting that first round bye into the Year 4 FCS playoffs. They took on their rivals North Dakota, and North Dakota State wins the Battle of North Dakota of the state, and the Bison win 45-27 to get the 9-1. Ohio, meanwhile, actually had a very significant challenge from the Sycamores of Indiana State, but the Hoosiers are going to fall just short, as Ohio is able to escape with a 34-31 win. Ohio now 10-1, also looking like a lock to go to the playoffs. But we do get a pretty big blowout here. This game was not televised, but Hofstra making some waves felt as they blow out Harvard 38-3, as Hofstra tries to work itself into an at-large bid. Speaking of at-large bids, Eastern Carolina definitely competitive for one right now, as they get to 9-2 after a 2-touchdown win over the Troy Trojans. So we kick it back out to the Pacific Northwest, where we got Portland State, who's also looking for their first FCS playoff appearance. They will go on the road and take on a team that honestly has been really disappointing this year. The Montana Grizzlies, they are still sitting at 500, but that 5-5 record, it just probably will not cut it this year in terms of going to the FCS playoffs. You know, so much implications, so much expectations on this program after it brought in such a masterful freshman class, and it's just not enough. So they can still play spoiler against Portland State, prevent them from at the very least get a top 8 berth, or depending on how bad the loss is, prevent Portland State from going to the playoffs at all. So, you know, a lot to still play for, but does Montana still care enough? And on this initial drive, maybe not so much. Carl Pierre able to slice it up like barbecue chicken. Look at this throw right there. It's an absolute dime. Able to get it into a goal line situation. And now, 2nd and goal from the 7-yard line. Pierre is going to get out to Sherman on the perimeter, and Sherman is going to find his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Vikings. Portland State does end up taking the lead. Matter of fact, they're able to grow this lead out to 10-0 before Skinner decides to wake up a little bit. The true freshman quarterback's got some talent, but of course, you know, a lot of room left to grow, as Skinner does throw a pretty nice ball here over the middle of the field. It does get caught as well, and Montana is on a drive. Can Montana finally put up points on the board? It hasn't been a terrible day in terms of turnovers, but you'll gotta be able to put points up on the board, and they finally do, as Brian Hurst, he's going to be the touchdown recipient from Jamison Skinner. It's a nice throw too. You know, it's a nice little moment, but not a lot of good offensive moments in this game, as Portland State is going to be the team that will eventually pull it out, as the Vikings going to be punching their ticket to their very first FCS playoff spot, as they are very likely to go as a at-large team. They're not really in the race to win their conference championship, but still a great season from Portland State. Going to finish up 9-2, whereas Montana, again, with all those expectations in the world was their oyster. They're going to finish below 500 this year. That's crazy. But we check in now on a team that is more worthy of our attention. We got Georgia Southern, the #1 team in America, going on the road to take on a team that is certainly hungry to go to the FCS playoffs for the very first time. Florida A&M, they're sitting at 6-4 right now. It's been a good season, not ranked yet, but if they can take down the #1 team in the land, Florida A&M, they're going to get some attention for sure. So big moment for Coach Jones, and in his second year with the program. But Georgia Southern, they are a different beast as they drive all the way to the goal line, but they will not only deny them, we're going to see this man take it all the way into the end zone, and not even the speedy Ikeda Woods is able to catch up to him. So touchdown for the A&M, and the Rattlers are going to rattle on. They will actually take the lead going into the second quarter, so not a bad start for Florida A&M. But Ikeda Woods, he's going to be trying to be built a little bit differently. They drive downfield once again, but for the second time, Florida A&M is going to deny them. Tony Green going to get another turnover. He got the fumble recovery earlier. Now he's got an interception to his name as well. But unfortunately for the Rattlers, they don't really get anything going on that next drive. They actually will have to go punt this football away. Few minutes left. Thankfully, does not get blocked, as that would be a travesty. That punt did get blocked, but Blake Williams does take it all the way into the end zone, and it's going to be that same result. So Blake Williams is going to be the reason why this game is going to be all knotted up. Later on in the game, 2nd and 9, we're going to see Florida A&M try to lean on that running game. Not Benito Zimmerman taking the handoff. That might have been Willie Reed Jr., but either way, it's going to be a fumble, and this is the last thing that you want to do. Number 1 team in the country, and you give them the football in the red zone. Just a recipe for disaster. This is what a defending national runner-up does. They are going to take advantage of those extra possessions. So now Georgia Southern's got that lead, 14-7, going to be your score, as we're going to try to see this quarterback for Florida A&M try to throw the football out, but throws it right into the warpath of DeAndre Dowdell II. And Dowdell II, he's going to get that interception. Also going to be a touchdown. So doing a little bit of everything here for Georgia Southern. We see an offensive touchdown, a defensive touchdown, and we've also seen special teams go to work as well. So a little bit of everything getting involved here for the Georgia Southern Eagles. As now Florida A&M trying to drive downfield desperately. This is going to be a nice throw and catch to at least get across midfield. But can they sustain the drive though? 3rd and 21, needing another big play. Throws down the middle of the field, and it's going to be intercepted down to midfield. All of a sudden, past the offensive lineman, and that is going to be taken all the way to the end zone. And such a nice start there for Florida A&M, and all of a sudden everything is starting to unravel, really showing to, and don't get me wrong, Florida A&M, they have made a lot of ground here ever since Coach Credible did take over for this program. Florida A&M was a bottom feeder before he arrived, but it's clearly still a lot of work that needs to be done before they could be a consistent FCS playoff contender, as that will be another interception that we will go ahead and see thrown here. So now 1st and goal from the 1-yard line after the turnover. Ikeda is going to no, he's not going to hand it off. He will actually take it into the end zone all by himself, and that will be a touchdown for the Eagles, making it 35-7. And at this point, it's just really turning into a track meet that no one on the Florida A&M sideline wanted to be in. Blake Williams takes the handoff. It looked like a reverse handoff at first, but Blake Williams decides to cut it upfield early, and it seems like it was just an absolute parting of the Red Sea. So now Georgia Southern comes back out onto the field, still 35-7. Got a goal line situation from the 5-yard line as Ikeda Woods puts together yet another touchdown. An historic day for the senior quarterback, as he actually sets the NCAA record for most rushing yards in a career. He surpasses 6,400 yards of rushing, as Georgia Southern, they will have a perfect regular season at 12-0, while Florida A&M finishes its regular season at 6-5. But speaking of the ACC, of course, we gotta save the very best for last. James Madison, number 10 in the country. They will take on the Wildcats of New Hampshire. And this is going to be a really exciting top 10 matchup, something that I've been looking forward to all episode, as the winner of this game will go on to playing in the ACC Championship. And New Hampshire, They do bring back most of their starters, but one notable new starter is the true freshman Bruno Baggio, who has had an up and down season as a true freshman, 25 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. We'll see if he can lead his team to a win against James Madison, the game of the year. And it starts out with Stephen Rogers throwing a dime into the back of the end zone to the junior David Thorne, who once was somebody that stepped in and, had that opportunity to play, or at least, be in the Heisman watch. But now 7-0 here as Stephen Rogers. We'll see if they go back to David Thorne once again. They fake the handoff. Rogers got some time, looks towards the back of the end zone. Is that caught? It is caught, but Kevin Crum did not get his feet in bounds. So, and Otis Grimp, one of the customs on this New Hampshire squad, somehow a freshman redshirt. Don't know how that works, but, that's something on the game. Maybe need to investigate this New Hampshire squad. Got to figure out what's going on there. Pending NCAA investigation. Let me know down in the comments, but for now, it's not really helping New Hampshire because we see James Madison take that 14-0 lead. And again, David Thorne gets the touchdown. But we talked about Bruno Baggio in the beginning of this episode. And listen, Bruno Baggio, he is still a stud. He is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the FCS someday. He's showing glimpses of that right now as a true freshman. Still waiting for touchdown number 26, but has been mistake-free with the football so far, but we'll see if he can finish this drive out. First and goal from the 9-yard line. Baggio is going to be in the shotgun formation. He's going to make some call-outs, trips to the right. Baggio got some time. He's going to throw this one over the middle of the end zone, and it's caught! Touchdown, New Hampshire! And the Wildcats are going to take the lead. 14-7 now, going to be your score. And here comes Baggio again, looking to tie it. He wants to tie it before halftime, but got a little bit too cocky. As Baggio, he just threw that up into double coverage, and it will end up being intercepted at the 34-yard line. Baggio had the time. He had plenty of time to get rid of that football. Just not a wise decision. Trusted that arm a little bit too much, or his receiver. Don't know which is which. But James Madison will hold on to that lead into the second half. Later on, the former 5-star punter, yes, you heard that correctly, Kenny Vincent, he's going to punt the football away over to Otis Grimp, but Otis Grimp gets tattooed and actually puts the football on the ground, and someone who has been a absolute demigod as special return duties just gave an extra possession to James Madison. So a chance for the Dukes to get into the end zone. Gets it out to the tailback. It's considered a touchdown for now, but there is a flag on the field. We'll check out the penalty, and it looks like it is actually going to be a roughing the passer. So Stephen Rogers, he gets hit late on this throw as he gets it out to his running back, and still it's going to count for a touchdown anyways. So 21-7 lead now. As Bruno Baggio, he's in a little bit of a hole. 3:46 left to play in the third quarter. Got to get it to one possession before the fourth quarter. Looking over to the right-hand side. Tries to toss it out onto the perimeter once again. And it's going to be yet another turnover for the true freshman quarterback. Turnovers have been a little bit of a problem for him. And David Benelli has been able to take advantage of that. Going to get yet another turnover. It's going to make it a still 21-7 game, but now James Madison can really pull away, and we're going to try to do just that as he throws a dime to David Thorne again. Thorne able to use that big body of his to allow Stephen Rogers to throw to a spot where only he can catch it, and it's a perfect throw, going to lead to yet another touchdown for the James Madison Dukes. Once again by David Thorne, by the way. That's his third touchdown of the game. Thorne is on another level right now. But on the other hand, New Hampshire is down 28-7 as Baggio trying to get something going downfield. And how about the receiver making that kind of effort there, as Baggio seemed like he just threw it up into coverage, and receiver was able to drag a foot in somehow. and back to a 2-score game, maybe mess around, make it a 1-score game, but instead going to be picked off yet again. That does put his turnovers. That's interception number 16 on the year. And if New Hampshire does not repeat as national champions, it's because Bruno Baggio somewhere down the line has had a bad game. Even the defending champs, who only have one loss to this point, granted it's to Delaware State, so make what you want with that information. You know, they can look vulnerable, especially if their defense is playing like this. Jonathan Henderson, he's going to make the play downfield. Big first down for the junior, who is kind of a forgotten part about this offense in what is a very talented offense. And David Foreign will finish the drive. No one's going to forget about him. How do you leave this man wide butt naked open? I have absolutely no idea, but 35-14 does end up being your final score. So that does mean that James Madison will be representing the ACC Atlantic Division. We'll see who they play in the conference championship game. We'll find that out in the next episode, but either way, great win for James Madison as it puts them in a spot to where they can get into the top 8. However, I am very curious as well to see how far does New Hampshire fall as a result of this loss. I mean, it is to a top 10 team. However, that being said, losing by 3 touchdowns is not going to be the most convincing way to get a first round bye either. But before we go into the ESPN Sports Magazine, as we are getting ready to close out the regular season, let's go take a look now at some of the afternoon and evening scores that we got going on throughout the FCS. We start off with Western Carolina, who got the chance to play Prairie View A&M, and the Catamounts crushed them in the regular season finale, winning 59-6, and Western Carolina will finish with an impressive 9-2 record. As for Eastern Washington, they are fighting their way to try to make it to their first FCS playoff appearance, and they'll put themselves in a pretty decent spot, beating Idaho State 21-14, but they are still going to be on the bubble in terms of getting an at-large bid into the FCS playoffs. As for Rice, they'll also improve their position as well as they beat Southern Utah in their season finale. Rice wins 24-14 and gets themselves to 8-3 for FCS playoff consideration. So with essentially all of the regular season action completed, we now have a pretty clear idea of what top 25 is going to be looking like, and Georgia Southern, they still remain the unanimous number 1 team in the nation. They're sitting at number 1. We do have a couple of changes. Southern moves up 1, as does North Dakota State, Eastern Kentucky, and San Diego State. But because of the impressive win for James Madison that we saw there, they now move up 4 spots, so they're in that first round bye discussion once again. They will be going to the conference championship. Now, we do also see Southeast Missouri State move up 1, as well as Portland State. These 2 teams, if the season ended today, they would get a first round bye. Now, that being said, New Hampshire, they still look like a lock to get into the FCS playoffs, but currently on the outside looking in for that first round discussion in terms of a first round bye. They'll need a little bit of help if they want that. Also moving up a spot is Western Carolina, Central Michigan. Southeastern, though, moves up a few spots. They're now sitting at number 12, and they are also going to their conference championship game to play Georgia Southern. In addition, Ohio remains where they are. They're sitting at 13, as is Utah State. Sam Houston State, though, actually falls 8 spots to number 15 in the country. Still a good season, but you know, it might be a little bit dicier for them in terms of going to their first FCS playoffs. Now, as for the bottom third of the top 25, we got Eastern Carolina at 16, Akron at 17, and Sacramento State at 18. Those schools hold on. Sanford, they're up 1 spot to number 19. They're looking pretty solid in terms of going to an FCS playoffs. Rice also moves up a couple of spots as well. They're up to number 20. That means that they are more than likely also getting in as an at-large, but still a little bit of football left to be played. SMU, same thing, number 21 in the country. They're 8-3, 6-2 conference record. They're also looking more than likely to get in, but we get a really interesting bubble come Selection Sunday, if this poll holds up. Temple is in at number 22. Tennessee Martin, they're back in at number 23 in the country, as well as Eastern Washington and Northern Arizona as the final 2 spots. So, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to those final 4 teams that I mentioned. Other teams to watch out for that could have a say in the FCS at-large conversation: Arkansas Pine Bluff, South Carolina State, Delaware State, Eastern Illinois, Western Kentucky, and of course Kent State, who is a 2-time national champion in this series. They might have some say as well. So this is what the Heisman watch is looking like as of right now, and for the time being, not a lot of movement. Jonathan Bowers still sits at number 1. We also have Stephen Robinson, the quarterback for New Mexico State. He's hanging in there at number 2 in the Heisman race. Ikedo Woods leading the offense pretty well against Florida A&M. They're still sitting at number 3. He's a senior redshirt. And then Blake Williams is the last to hold on to their spot. He's currently at number 4, the junior tailback at Georgia Southern, also having a nice season. With that being said, we do have a new person coming back into the not the playoff discussion, but the Heisman race discussion, and that is Jason Shaw, who really had a breakout performance against Richmond. He had 5 touchdowns as well as 260 yards on the ground. Dude is a menace, with closing in on 3,000 yards of total offense on the season. So I'm very happy that he's going to get considered for the Heisman Trophy. And speaking of big performances, Jason Shaw, and rightfully so too, does win Player of the Week at the NCAA level. Like I said, he was a menace to the Richmond front 7. 44 carries for 260 yards, 5 touchdowns, also chipped in 39 reception yards as they were able to beat Richmond 42-17 and keep themselves up in the Heisman, or not the Heisman conversation, but, well, and Jason Shaw is in that Heisman conversation, don't get me wrong, but it does keep South Carolina State alive as well for the FCS playoff conversation on top of that, but they will need some help. That being said, on the defensive side of the football, we get a little bit of a surprise here. Tony Green of Florida A&M gets named Defensive Player of the Week. Now, his team did end up getting crushed, lost by 42 to Georgia Southern. We didn't see the full game because it was that much of a blowout, but he did have a good performance, 6 tackles, had an interception on Ikedo Woods, as well as a forced fumble, which he was able to take all the way back to the end zone for a defensive touchdown, which was the only score that Florida A&M had in this game, and that did put him up 7-0, just didn't get any help from his offense. So, all things being considered, we are almost done with the regular season, and next episode we'll just go ahead and wrap that up. Just only going to be showing these last remaining games that you see on screen, as well as after those games are done, we'll see if there's anyone new that enters the top 25, anything crazy like that, and then go from there. And then to wrap up next episode, we will preview the conference championships, or at least the conference championships that we'll be covering here on this channel. So next episode, we'll see Rhode Island and Morgan State get together for their annual game, as well as check out the box score for Utah State and Elon. Then we'll wrap up the gameplay with this game against Hampton versus McNeese State. Both of the teams had disappointing years, but they will be on national television before we wrap it up with UMass going on the road to take on North Dakota State. We'll see if the Bison can punch their ticket into a first-round bye. It's going to be a fun episode, man, as we get ready to wrap up this regular season, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic, signing off, hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.